Hello, my name is Dr. Gary Simmons, and this video series is about evolving out of our sense of not enough, looking at a new funding model for mission-centric ministry. And so we're going to look at these times, especially as we see them in this day and age, as more challenging than ever before. And we can look back 30 years and see that our experience in ministry is quite different than it is in these times. And we're going to be looking at the reasons why minister-centric ministry practice is unsustainable in the long term, primarily because of funding issues or issues of attendance decline, in the sense of the inevitable aging out of the traditionalists and the baby boomers. We're left with looking at our funding model in the context of getting people to feel that they've been spiritually fed, and therefore that translates into a more abundant support of the organization that is hopefully source unto those people who are participating in our ministries. But this is at the heart of part of the funding challenge because our current ministry practice uses tithing as its primary source of income. At least that's ostensibly, that's the setup. That's what we've inherited in our 400-year-old ministry practice. And so as we examine tithing as a spiritual practice and how it is in this economy, in this day and age, not a practice that is sustained, we're going to be looking at the giving and attendance trends and what's impacting us that has unfolded, especially in these recent times, that have made those charitable dollars much more difficult to obtain. And as we understand these times, we will see that almost half of the charitable dollars that we enjoyed 30 years ago are no longer with us in today's economy. And as we understand that while the numbers of nonprofits have doubled, the charitable dollars have basically remained the same. And so our portion is divided not only with respect to religious organizations, but the educational organizations, the arts, the humanities, healthcare, foundations, human services, the environment, animals, foundations, the public and societal benefits. All of these areas where nonprofit dollars are essential are basically crowding the space, the room, for us to enjoy what's available to us from our members and supporters. And so since the minister-centric model of ministry is primarily funded by the tithes and donations of supporters and members, we can see how the practice of tithing has been impacted by a sense of not enough, and how our strategies to get more actually create more insufficiency. And so I'm going to explore that in greater detail as a part of this video series, because the last thing that we want to do is to do the very things that exacerbate our sense of not enough. After I've made the case that we cannot fund our way into a sustainable minister-centric ministry practice, and that every credible futurist, church growth consultant, and even our own Unity Worldwide Ministry Board and the leaders of Centers for Spiritual Living are coming to terms with the reality that unless we engage as individual ministries and as parent organizations into an intentional cultural change process that moves us into second-tier organizational practices, we basically only have 5 years left, and we will likely join the growing number of failing denominations overcome by the inability to align with these chaotic, challenging times that our world is facing today. Finally, I will propose a new paradigm of funding for the mission-centric model of ministry based upon second-tier imperatives and the principle of interbeing. Integral to this new approach to funding is what I will describe as the principle of ownership. Okay, now that's quite different than what we know as membership. Right now in minister-centric ministry practice, we equate the two. We think that people who become governing or voting members are automatically in ownership, but that's not the case. In minister-centric ministry, it's possible that you have voting or governing members who are not in ownership of your ministry. It's possible that you have people on your board who are not in ownership of the ministry. And it's not necessarily a conscious choice. People don't say, I'm not in ownership intentionally. It's just that it's something that you inhabit by virtue of how you're showing up in your relationship to the ministry. And because of that way of being in your relationship with the ministry, you amplify the ministry's capacity to fulfill its purpose. And so we'll be talking about ownership as a new paradigm, as a new way of being in community, as opposed to just simply being in the congregation itself. Now imagine for a moment that you can learn about funding your organization 100%, underwriting the operations of your ministry without ever having to teach a tithing class or asking people to give more. And so in order for us to move to this possibility, we need to shift what is possible. We need to see that in the context of our current perception and meaning-making process, that when we're caught up in the story of separation and our sense of not enough is activated, and that becomes the context for how we are embracing our reality, it's no wonder that we're compelled to try to look outside of ourselves for more. And so our effort, when we feel a sense of not enough, our default response is to get more. And we do this very well as leaders in our ministry. And so our work is to shift, to be able to not to be in the activity of getting more, but being in the awareness that we are more. And that when we be more and connect up with that dimension of ourself that is already hardwired to draw upon this field of infinite possibilities, to bring forth a greater good consistent with and aligned with the principle of interbeing, then we unleash possibilities that have heretofore been invisible to us. And so when we begin by planting the seed that we can underwrite our entire operations 100% by automatic giving, and then we have to create a practice, a community practice of moving towards that. And so in this new funding model, I'll provide you with much specificity regarding how this happens and how we can manage funding our organizations, especially in these chaotic times. But it's important for you to know that what I am describing as this new funding model has yet to be implemented in its entirety. So Jane and I are here at Unity Spiritual Center in Spokane. We're beginning our 4th year of our intentional facilitation of a mission-centric ministry practice. And we're just now beginning to launch this new funding model. And so it's our effort to create and to bring into expression this new value system around membership that brings people into an authentic relationship with how they can be in a participant as an owner partner in our ministry. And so those details will be forthcoming, but you need to know that I can't point you to how it's working as a completed system. And so this is the nature of second-tier dynamics. We're all here to create what needs to be birthed into greater expression, and that's part of our path to greater sustainability. So as we approach our 4th year, I'm going to both be sharing the overarching principles of the mission-centric funding model, as well as describe how it works and the process of bringing that forth, another transitioning from a tithing-based funding system to an ownership-based funding system. I'm going to lay out all the details of that, but you need to know that those details have yet to be fully activated and realized in the world, and so that's what our effort is. And so I will be describing how it's working for us at Unity Spiritual Center so that you have a sense of how it lives in real life. And as of course this is integral to the Mission-Centric Ministry Coaching Program as well. But suffice it to say, to know that while we're going to be shifting from thinking of the people in our ministry as congregants, we're going to be thinking them as evolving into greater ownership and partnership with our ministry as we develop that concept of introducing that value and drawing people into the embodiment of that value, which in a sense is describing the path, the transitional way of moving from minister to mission-centric ministry. We're nonetheless going to need to understand that our work in this arena of bringing forth second-tier organization is one where we need to align with the principles of interbeing, of our interconnection, and then manage our human nature's effort to kind of move into predict and control, or our sense of not enough, all those shadow dynamics that occur. And so it's going to be necessary that we create a community around all of us who are moving into mission-centric ministry, because this effort is something that is very difficult if it's just a few of us attempting this greater work. When we're seeking to create cultural change that shifts movements, we need greater numbers of people aligned so that we can create cultural tipping points where we're all engaged in a similar practice that moves the whole organization, our whole denomination, the entire New Thought movement into a sustainable organizational expression. And so this is very exciting to get to be a participant in bringing forth this new paradigm in ministry practice, because it brings such great hope. Because if transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in their world becomes a part of what we're able to ignite as the foundation of our movement, that actually has the effect of creating a world that works for all or for everybody, then how can we bring that intention to our ministries and create, how can all of us in this community make a difference with respect to where it is that we're wanting to go with the future of our New Thought movement. So this is very exciting times, and so we're going to begin looking next at all the things that are currently a part of our ministry practice that creates a sense of not enough, and also impacts our current ministry practice and necessitates the urgency that you're hopefully sensing in these video series. So be sure and watch the 4-part series, The Inconvenient Truth About Minister-Centric Ministry, as a part of a preparation for the rest of what is going to be coming forth in this particular video series on a new funding approach to evolving out of our sense of not enough.